Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Gusty's Plants. Today I'll talk about a very rare Hoya that really not many people talk about, and it's a very hard Hoya to take care of, which is why I think not many people talk about it. I feel like not many people have it, and the ones that have it struggle with it. That includes myself, or I was struggling with it when I first got it. So if you guys want to know what Hoya I'm talking about, just keep on watching. You probably already read the title, but anyways, just keep on watching. Yes guys, so the Hoya that I'm talking about is Hoya Sipitangensis, and it's this little nice Hoya. This Hoya has very small little leaves. They look very nice and puckered and green, even though the leaves look very thin and paper thin. When you touch them, they're actually kind of thick and robust. They're very thick, chunky, succulent like leaves. However, they appear to be very thin and paper thin, which they're really not. I have this growing in coconut husks, and this Hoya requires lots of humidity, lots of airflow, and it does require a lot of humidity. That's it. This Hoya needs lots of humidity and lots of good airflow, circulation. Doesn't like to be wet, but doesn't like to be dry. So Hoya Sipitangensis, guys, if you guys manage to buy this plant, if you guys order this plant online and you're wondering how to take care of it, I can give you guys some tips on how to keep this plant happy. And if this plant is yellowing or is dying, which was dying on my case, I bought this plant in a 3-inch planter from Jordan's Jungle, and I received it. It looked very nice and happy. However, a few days after getting this plant, it started to go downwards. It actually started to yellow a lot of the leaves, and a lot of the leaves were starting to to yellow down and fall. And so I got really scared, to the point that I lost about 90% of this plant. I lost about 90% of this plant, and it was just like on dead end. It was like she was downgrading. She was like, I almost really didn't have this plant anymore. So what I did is, the little few stems that it still had alive that looked healthy to me, I actually cut those out and I propagated them. I took those leaves, I took those tendrils out and placed them in top of a wet sphagnum moss. So I put them inside a tray with a lid, and I put them in sphagnum moss on top of a heat mat. Within about 2 weeks or about a week and a half, this plant started, the little stems started to develop roots, which made me really happy. So then I transferred those rooted stems onto coconut husks, and then I put them in this little planter right here. This is about 90% growth. What I had survived with was about 10% of what you see right here. So those little roots, those little tendrils, I placed them in coconut husks, and I'm gonna insert clips here of my Instagram stories, which is where I actually made a video about this plant on my Instagram stories, so follow me on Instagram. But so I placed the little tendrils that were slowly rooting in coconut husks, and I placed all of this plant inside a ghetto humidity box. I have a video on a ghetto humidity box if you guys want to take a look. This is where I put my cuttings, Hoyas that are about to die. I put them in a ghetto humidity box. That's kind of like the ER for them. Like if they're about to die and I put them in there, it's either they make it or they don't. That's kind of like the final step before they die. So this one was in that ghetto humidity box, but it actually survived, and this is what you guys see right here. A few tips that I can give you guys about this plant is, so this plant requires lots of humidity. Like I already mentioned, it needs lots of humidity. It's a thirsty plant. It's a plant that requires lots of humidity, and it likes to be not dry, but it doesn't like to be wet. It likes to be kind of moist. Also, this plant absorbs lots of water from the air. So if you have it like in a humidity box, if you have it like in a municipal cabinet, it'll do the best because it'll absorb the nutrients from the air, and so it will absorb the humidity that's surrounding this plant. And this is how the plant thrives. It thrives by absorbing through the stems, through the leaves, the humidity, and it also likes to breathe. It likes to have its roots breathe. This plant, I think, will not do well if you have it in soil, because soil kind of retains wetness, kind of retains water, and so this plant may yellow down because of the medium that you have it in soil. I feel like this plant would do great in pond, leca, coconut husks, And yes, I have this plant like sitting coconut husks and it's doing great. This plant grows beautiful flowers, very nice. I haven't had this plant flower, but it does have a peduncle on the roots. It's crazy because it grew a peduncle on the roots and I'm like, why is this plant growing peduncles on the roots? But it grew a peduncle on the roots, and definitely I'm really happy with this plant. It's thriving, it's doing good. I'm gonna put it back in where I have it. This is a plant that I will not have outdoors. It's a plant that I will not have in my porch. I will only keep it in a humidity box, in a milk bowl cabinet, and that's where it will live. Yes, Hoya Sipitangensis is a very hard to care for Hoya. I would not recommend this Hoya for beginners. It's definitely not a Hoya for beginners. But if you guys have this plant and you're struggling with this plant, I hope that this video helps anyone watching. If you guys have this plant and you are not having trouble with it and you're like, what you're saying is not true, leave me a comment down below. I would like to know how you're caring for this plant. Where is your location? Where do you live? Maybe you live in Asia, maybe you live in Europe, and maybe your humidity, maybe your area, your sun, your air is different than ours. I live in California and this is where I am able to give this plant. Having it outdoors didn't cut it, so that's why I say that if you live in the USA where it's very dry, very humid, keep it indoors, keep it in a humidity box, keep it in a milk cabinet, which is where it will do the best. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and you guys found it helpful. If you guys have any questions, any concerns, follow me on Instagram. I'm very active on Instagram. I'll leave my panhandle somewhere right here. Alright guys, and yeah, so thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Kapung karigato, kusumasta. Bye.